What's going on YouTube? This is Jamil here talking ABC for today, and it has been a while since I made a video regarding Yu-Gi-Oh! But considering that ABC is the structure deck is less than a week from being released, I felt that it was appropriate to make a video like this. Now, with this one, I might get a lot of hate for it, but it doesn't matter because XYZ Dragon Cannon is my absolute favorite archetype in the game. And I was going to build ABC the moment I got wind of it. I mean, because it supports the archetype. I mean, but it just so happened to be a tier 1 deck. And it's not the fact that I love the deck still. I just hate how everybody and their mom is going to be playing it due to how easy it is to pick up the cards. Tsukuyomi is like $15. Emeralds, $15 to $18, depending on which one you get. So you could, and gadgets for like 10, maybe 15 to play set, depending on where you are. So it's just really cheap, really easy to pick this deck up and just start playing it. Now, a lot of people say that the deck is going to lose steam as quickly as it accumulated due to how easy it is to side against this deck. And they are correct. You can side extremely easy in this deck. When you have cards like Cycle Reader, Ghost Reaper, System Down, maybe if you, I mean, depending on the deck, I mean, you could just side just Iron Wall and it'd be a done deal. But then again, almost all of these ABC decks uses Twin Twister. Except me, I don't have the Twin Twisters. I should think about getting me some copies. But anyway, this is besides the point. With this video, I'm going to get a lot of hate for it, but I am here to actually guide ABC players, myself included, as to how to fight against Game 2 and Game 3. Now, ABC is similar to Dark World to where most of your side deck should be against the side deck. But the problem with ABC is, or the thing about Dark World is, you can, most of their side cards are floodgates, things that remain on the field, which you can very easily just get rid of with back row removal. But the problem with ABC is that most of the cards that will be sided against you are very, very hard to stop via hand traps. Hand traps are incredibly difficult to deal with, and besides, you know, the obvious choice being Mind Drain, which you have to forfeit your turn and just set the card and hope it doesn't get blown up or banished or gotten rid of next turn, you are 2 turns behind. Let's just put it that way. You're 2 turns behind, and you will more than likely lose, which is why I've been saying over and over again, hand traps are starting to get out of control, and I don't know why they haven't made a faster, counter card for hand traps. Like a quick play that just shuts down hand traps for a turn. I think that's healthy, because, again, besides Mind Drain, which nobody uses because it's too slow, yeah, you can't stop hand traps. They're literally just unstoppable unless you use Mind Drain, which is too slow. So anyway, let's get right into this. When you're playing ABCs and you are in Game 2, what is the top 3 fears that your opponent may bring to the table? One, the very first and obvious one being Ghost Reaper. The second being System Down, and the third being Cycle Reader or Chaos Hunter. Now, I'm going to go over the list. And the obvious answer number 1 to the Reaper, which it is not out yet. I believe it comes out in Invasion of Venom. I really hope it does, because like I said, Ghost Reaper is an incredible card, and it's too strong. And it's not that its effect that's strong, it's this activation condition that makes it incredibly easy. Literally all you do is just make your opponent go first, and you can activate the card. I mean, if an effect that powerful should have had a much more stricter activation condition, but whatever. It is what it is. But anyway, if you have Avidity, if you open with it, you're in the clear because if you get Reapered, you can shuffle them all back in, and you can draw a card. That simple, and you can proceed with your play. If your opponent has multiples, that's kind of a problem. Um, Come this week, when the deck gets released, I have my set of Prohibitions. Now, a lot of people say that's a bad card, it's a bad choice, but let's face it, Ghost Reaper is a card. I've already seen a lot of people picked up a lot of copies, so they're getting ready. You will be if let me just put it to you this way: if you win game one, your opponent loses game one, and your opponent chooses and he says you can go first, you can very well bet that they have a Ghost Reaper in their hand or they sided like a full set. So, am I really bad? Is it really far-fetched to say that siding Prohibition is a necessary precaution, especially since Avidity is not even out yet? Prohibition gives us the security the ABC player needs. Now, I will call Ghost Reaper and Winter Cherries every single time, and my opponent may not even have it in their side deck, but it's better than just auto-losing to a Reaper, which I've beat opponents that have Reaper my ABC before. I mean, it just turns into a rank 4 deck and rank 5, which is why I believe this deck, the rank 5 build, a lot of people say the rank 4 build's more consistent, but the problem with the rank 4 build, as I've said, is they use too many traps, or they use too many other cards. Like, they use kaijus, they use anti-spells, they use, other things, like too many of other things to not establish their turn 1 board. So oftentimes, in a way, it's more inconsistent due to the fact that all the other cards are running, they're going to open up with, and they're not going to have as strong of a hand as I would if I had, Transmodify, Brilliant Fusion, Union Hanger, a Gadget, and I'm just going to have a heyday. But anyway, that's besides the point. Prohibition, call Ghost Reaper every single time. If you open multiples, then you would just call System Down. Well, with me, I would just call Psycho Reader, because I will have Infinity or Durandal on board, so I can just negate the System Down. Now, if you're mirror matching, the rest of these sides are for mirror matches. Now, Invasion of Venom will come out 2 weeks after the ABC Structure deck. We all know with that comes Tree Toad or Totally Awesome. And at that point, you will have boards where you have 2 creatures you would like to deal with, or that you have to deal with. Tree Toad Darklaw is very, very nasty. And so is Rafflesia Darklaw. And if your opponent got a good enough hand, they can have all 3. Rank 5 builds of ABC, you will have Buster Dragon and Infinity or Durandal, depending on which build you have and what kind of stuff you had. And last but not least, you have the DDD. When Siegfried gets released, you will have to deal with Crystal Wing Siegfried Omega, or, Crystal Wing Siegfried Hope Harbinger if they got Soul Charge. And so you notice this trend of multiple monster lock boards. Now, I can see a card like Lava Golem being sided a little bit more. Granted, you do have to give up your normal summon, but if you're playing Pendulums, if you're playing Metal Foes, it might not really matter that much to you. So you could freely just splash this in your side deck and get rid of all the problematic monsters. Now, Lava Golem won't be a very relevant side until Siegfried, I believe, because that's when the truly established boards will start coming to fruition. Because the only one would be Tree Toad Darklaw, and And at that point, yeah, Lava Golem will be a better side over the Kaijus because Kaiju is a 1-for-1. And if you're staring down Dark Law Tree Toad, I know most of you would sack the Tree Toad, but you still have the Dark Law to deal with. You still have to worry about you searching or drawing outside of draw phase. They banish a card out of your hand, and everything going to the grave is banished. Me personally, I would just sack over the Dark Law because, it's just one negate. One negate, and yeah, the card may be taken, but you don't lose everything in the process of dealing with Dark Law. My stuff may be negated, but at least I still have my graveyard. All my pieces and all that stuff are not just gone for good. Especially if you're playing Metal Foes, especially if I'm playing ABC. If I'm playing ABC, I want the stuff in the graveyard. That's as simple as that. So, there's that, and also, against the mirror match, you can let your opponent go first, and you can use a card as easily as Chaos Hunter, stopping them from banishing their ABC Buster. But there is a risk to using Chaos Hunter. One, you have to discard a card. You're going to have less cards in your hand to start off with. Two, your opponent can easily change up his play. What do I mean by this is, if let's say your opponent goes Gold Gadget and then they summon Silver Gadget, and you drop Chaos Hunter, it can even be in defense in fear of Honor Arc. They can, depending on what they have in their hand, if they had the Hanger and they get the Buster, they can just go Castell, and they still get the search off the last piece, and then they just get rid of your Chaos Hunter and still manage to dump the last piece in the graveyard. Then you're back to square one. You just lost a card out of your hand, you lost a monster, and they still get to summon their ABC Dragon Buster. Which is the risk that comes with Chaos Hunter. Which is why I believe Artifact Lancia will be a better side. Granted, that can only, it only lasts for a turn, but you don't lose any extra cards in your hand, and it's much, much harder to stop and deal with. Which is what I said earlier. Hand traps are damn near unstoppable. You can't really stop them. And the next side I had in mind was a very, very, I believe it's a very good side, especially if it's against the rank 4 build with the Tsukuyomi, which will be much more played because everybody's a bandwagoner and people think it's more consistent when clearly rank 5s are more versatile and have more options, more plays. And I don't use any traps, so the chances of me breaking are second to none. So there's that. But anyway, Flying Sea, I believe, it would be an extremely good side against the mirror match if your opponent is playing the rank 4 build. Why do I believe this? Well, think of it this way. They summon a gadget or they summon Thrasher. Even if they have Hanger and they put out one of their pieces to get the other one, you drop Flying Sea. They can't go into Tsukuyomi. So they can't, not only can they not overlay, they also cannot dump their last piece in the grave. They also will not be able to get those extra 2 cards, being potential deadly traps, and they also cannot summon Dragon Buster. And there's 0 to no chance of them getting it off the field. Period. Like, they're not going to get it off the field. You literally just stop to them. You put them in a really, really bad spot. They're sitting there with 2 monsters. No overlays. No ABCs. They're done for that turn. You can do whatever you want. Now, if they set a card, obviously you have to worry, but if you're playing ABC, you're using Twin Twisters, so, again, they're done. Just hit their face, hit their set, hit their Hanger, and you're good to go. You win. Now, again, most of these sides that I've just listed off, the Avidity and the Prohibition, and the Lancia, actually, because if your opponent plays system down, you can also sack the Lancia and stop them for a turn. You stop your stuff from getting fucked over. Now, you side against the side for like half or most of your side deck, and then the rest of the side, since there's going to be a plethora of ABC matchups, you side against the mirror match. Now, again, I could be citing Ghost Reapers, I could be citing Cycle Readers, but I always believe that it is best to use cards to either help accelerate your plays than to slow your opponent down. Because if I cited Ghost Reapers and Cycle Readers, I can almost guarantee that Avidity and cards like Prohibition would also be in my opponent's side deck due to the exact same threats, if that makes sense. So there'd be no point in me using Reaper when my opponent could very easily be siding something like what was it not Return from the DD, Burial from a DD, siding something like Burial from a DD, and put all the ABCs back in the graveyard, and then just summoning Emerald, and still getting the plus off the Buster Drake, and then shuffling him back and getting an extra draw. I mean, it just seems Reaper is good, don't get me wrong, but the fact that you got all these side cards that shuffle banished cards back in, put banished cards back in the graveyard, or whatever the hell. I mean, when we thought Reaper was the be-all, end-all for BA, what did we do? We had extra precautions in terms of side deck cards. We started siding things like Light of Redemption, pay 800, target a banished light monster, put it back in. Light Ray Sorcerer. You have 3 banished lights, you summon it, and you just shuffle one of them back in, banish a card. You know, things like that. I just feel like using Reaper, it'll do little to nothing, especially if your opponent's smart enough to know that it's going to be sided. If they're smart enough to know that it's going to be sided, they know what they need to do to counter the Reaper, counter the Cycle Reader. And basically, you just want to stop, you know what you need to do to stop them. Using bad cards like Prohibition is the obvious choice, Avidity is another, so I'm not going to side Ghost Reapers and all that because it will actually put a dent in them, but there is always a chance that it will not stop them. Using cards like Flying Sea and Artifact Lancia will almost guaranteed stop them. Literally just stop them for a turn. Like, no matter what. You can guarantee that those cards will say no. Ghost Reaper, you can attempt to say no, but again, as I clearly showed you, I have answers. So, let me know what you guys think about this. And let me know also in the comments below what cards you would side if you were playing the ABC Dragon Buster deck. Now again, I'm playing the rank 5 build, so this may not apply to rank 4 builds. I could be wrong. I mean, I have Tsukuyomi of my own. I have the Kaijus. I just sold my anti-spells, which kind of sucks. Which I probably wouldn't use anti-spells anyway because, as you can see, hold on, where is it? I've been playing this deck. And I don't know. I don't like it because I drew. Think of it this way: you go first, and I open like one Twin Twister, a Kaiju. I almost never see the anti-spell, and I'll draw like a strike, and I will, like, if I'm lucky, I draw a hanger or a terraforming to get to the hanger, and I'll draw like a piece, and it's just like, what am I supposed to do with this? And that's what I'm talking about. This is like you, looking at the rank 5 build, you have 3, 3, 3, 3, 3. You get 3 Brilliant Fusions, extra level 5, Galaxy Soldier, extra level 5s, Transmodify way to get to the level 5s, Insta Fusions, Solar Windjammers, Solar Windjammers, more level 5s. You're not going to have an issue with getting to the plays you need with this because you got 3 of everything, everything's searchable, and all that mess. So hold on, you have so many more options that you have and so many chances to not brick versus this where you have, I mean, yes, you want to open strike, but then you got all these other cards being, maybe limited removal anti-spell. I mean, yeah, it's good opening that, but not if you don't get your boss monster out. You got 1, 2, 3, 4. I should probably think about taking out the Honest if I'm playing rank 4, but look at that. Look at the whole, like you have the whole bottom 1.5 rows of cards that you have a chance of opening up multiples. Like not even just multiples of those particular ones, but of all those cards, you can open up multiples of those combination of cards, and you now have a 3-card hand to work with. And that's my problem with the rank 4 build. Versus rank 5 build, I'm guaranteed to, I'm guaranteed to make plays. Now, these MSTs should be Twin Twisters, so I'll end up doing that to make sure that I can, if my opponent goes first and they do set multiple back row, which will be Heroes, and Tree Toad and Darklaw, and all that mess, I will be able to play through their board much easier. So let me know what you guys think again, and what cards would you side if you were playing the ABC structure deck. This is Jamil, and I'm signing out.